We'll now call the March 8th, 2011 meeting of the Caroline County Board of Supervisors to order. My apologies, first of all, the board had a work session which ran a little bit late, and we're getting a late start. But our first order of business is the call to order. We've done that. All members are present. Mr. Underwood, representing the Reed Church District. Mr. Popowitz, representing Port Royal. Mr. Seeley, representing Bowling Green. Mr. Akers, representing Madison. And I'm Floyd Thomas, representing the Mattaponi District. I'm going to ask our newest member of the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Underwood, if he would please provide us the invocation.
Can we all stand, please?
Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we come before you and ask for your divine blessing. Ask you, Heavenly Father, to touch our hearts and our minds, enable us to do the best job that we can for the citizens and the businesses of Caroline County. So, Heavenly Father, we ask you to put us on one accord, that we may be able to agree without being disagreeable. We thank you for all your blessings. In your name we pray.
Amen. Please join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, gentlemen, we have no amendments to the agenda, so the agenda as presented would stand. Opening board comments, Mr. Underwood.
None at this time.
Mr. Popowitz.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We have brought this up before, but with VDOT, but I would appreciate a letter of support and asking VDOT to respond to the issue at 606, and I'm going to pass these photos down to you. You can see the actual damage that's at the crossing. We have not received any response from them at this time, and it's pretty getting pretty dangerous. So if the board would consider or recognize the issue here, and please write a letter asking for their undivided attention to this problem, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Popowitz, and this was something that we identified at our last meeting with VDOT.
Yes.
And they have not taken action. So, Mr. Ashcraft, if you would please follow up on that. Mr. Seeley, opening board comments?
None at this time, sir.
Mr. Akers?
No, sir.
I have none also. At this time, we will ask for a special presentation from Lieutenant Colonel Hafner, the commander of Fort A.P. Hill. And Colonel Hafner. Do we have a portable mic?
That's good? Can you hear me? Outside voice? All right, gentlemen of the board, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for this opportunity tonight to thank you. To thank the entire board, but specifically two members of the board, one member of the board and the county administrator, who have been a friend to Fort A.P. Hill and the soldiers, sailors, and airmen and Marines who have trained there throughout their time here in our support. First of all, Maxie, I wanted to thank you specifically for everything you've done for the 10+ years that you've been associated with Fort A.P. Hill. Through that time, that's close to 1 million soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who have come through there, and many of them, that's their last stop before they deploy. So we take our business seriously, and I know you take your business seriously, and I thank you for those relationships that we have had that allowed us to talk about the most difficult things, okay, so we can both further our mutual objectives. So Ken's going to read something. While he does that, I'm going to pin something on you, which is a very special pin.
Okay. The Certificate of Appreciation for Patriotic Civilian Service is presented to David M. Maxey Roselle, Jr. on the occasion of his conclusion of service on the Caroline County Board of Supervisors. For more than a decade on the board, Mr. Roselle demonstrated his commitment and support to the men and women of Fort A.P. Hill and the hundreds of thousands of fighting men and women who have trained at the installation. He enthusiastically participated in partnership activities such as the Installation Community Council, special recognition events, and volunteered to be interviewed about installation community relations during Army Communities of Excellence Examiner site visits. This support and friendship helped further Fort A.P. Hill's ability to provide realistic combat training, modernize and upgrade its operating facilities, and improve the quality of life for all who serve and train on the installation. This in turn contributes to a stronger, more capable armed forces and greater national security. Beyond that, such support for the vital mission of the installation helps protect America's sons and daughters serving in harm's way on behalf of all Americans. For this, the Army thanks Mr. Roselle and wishes him the very best in his future endeavors.
Percy, you're next. And we also thank you very much, too, for your 10-plus years of service in your position as the county administrator and what you have done for Fort A.P. Hill and for this nation. As a fellow member of VLGMA, okay, when I joined, you were lauded by a lot of people. You know, when Kim Payne, when I first met him, city manager, or the county manager of Lynchburg, he spoke very, very highly of you. And he said how, and it totally bears out what an asset you are to both this community and to this relationship. So I thank you very, very much.
The Certificate of Appreciation for Patriotic Civilian Service is presented to Percy C. Ashcraft on the conclusion of his more than a decade of service as Caroline County Administrator. Mr. Ashcraft served as Caroline County Administrator during a period of unparalleled transition for Fort A.P. Hill. He and his team of professional staff emphasized constructive engagement with A.P. Hill leaders, working to establish mutually supportive relationships and business processes. He made the communication channels managed by the county government readily available in an effort to promote better understanding of installation missions, programs, and issues within the county government and the local citizenry. Mr. Ashcraft was a charter member of the Installation Community Council, an information sharing forum for discussing issues of mutual concern. Most recently, Mr. Ashcraft worked closely with installation staff during public discussions related to emerging missions at Fort A.P. Hill. Fort A.P. Hill celebrates its 70th anniversary this year. Mr. Ashcraft has been the senior Caroline County government professional for more than 1/7 of the installation's existence. His support of the installation and its staff has aided vital training, most certainly benefiting America's sons and daughters who serve in harm's way on behalf of all Americans. The Army thanks Mr. Ashcraft for his support and wishes him all the best in his future endeavors.
That takes care of agenda item number 1. Agenda item number 2 is presentations and reports, and this is the presentation of the proposed fiscal year 2011-12 Caroline County Public Schools budget. Dr. Killo, the superintendent. You need a minute to get straight?
I think we're good to go. No. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors, Mr. Ashcraft. On behalf of the Caroline County Public School Board, I would like to present the 2011-2012 proposed school budget. This process involved staff groups, each different department being represented, and building this budget. There were staff and teacher committees, a community group, and the school board. And I want to thank them for all their time and energy. Much of this you've already seen. As we did during the workshop, we gave you the entire package. I know there's been a few changes, and I'm going to try to run through some of this data very quickly. The local composite index, you can see that every 2 years it changes. You can see what Caroline County's local composite indexes look like over the period from 2006 up to present. Also, our projected ADM, you can see what our 3-year trend is. We do not know what the ADM will be until about May of this year. It finalizes on March 31st, and we've projected, we built this budget on 4,100. We're hoping to be at that on March 31st or better than that on March 31st, 2012. Quick comparison data of where we've been in the 3 years through these times that we faced. We had 718 staff members in 2008-09. We are at 672, which is a reduction of over 46 staff members. Our classroom teachers, which have one of the largest impacts on our student performance, has gone from in 2008-09 from 333 to 308, or a reduction of about 25. And you can see our free and reduced lunch rate has gone up a little. This year it's gone down, which is a good sign. The ADM for 2010 is based on 4090, and the cost per child that we spend state plus the county divided by ADM, you can see the figures over there. We were at $8,723.55 in 2008-09, and in 2010-11 we are now at $7,803.29. Student-teacher ratios have gone up considerably. What they're standing at presently in this school year is 21.9 to 1 in kindergarten through 2nd grade, but we also, because of our high free and reduced lunch rate and receiving of class size reduction monies, we have to maintain class sizes in most of our schools below 22 or 23 to 1 in the K2 areas. Elementary is at 23.8 to 1. Middle school core classes, a lot of our elective classes are a lot larger than that. You'll see 30 plus in those classes unless there's a requirement to be less, but 24.8 to 1, and at the high school in the core classes we're averaging 30.8 to 1. As was presented to you in your package, you've seen some of this information, and I'll go through it fairly quickly. Our vision, reaching new heights together. There's our mission to provide a quality education which meets the needs of a diverse population and enables success in a changing world. The goals that were recently adopted through a strong strategic planning process done with the community and the school board, and the basic guiding principles that will run us over the next few years. Most of our state funding is based on the school division's projected average daily membership. This proposed operating budget is based on 4,100 students, 10 more than this past year. Caroline will receive an additional $129,783 based off the governor's budget that was presented in December of 2010. We've received the extra money because our local composite index went down. We were one of a handful, about 20 school divisions that benefited because we were reestablished and our local composite index went down, which helped us. It helped us considerably. A significant portion of the state funds are non-discretionary and require a local match, and you can see our composite index. And the school board is requesting that the county appropriation increase by $2.6 million in order to balance the estimated amounts of funds deemed to be needed during the 2011-2012 school year. This is a look at a 3-year or 4-year trend of what our physical budget looks like. And in the yellow, 2010-11 is our present operating budget. Local monies are monies that we receive through tuition fees and other fees that are collected. Those are down. The state revenue is down $2,072,824.53. The federal, it stayed basically the same, or it went up a little bit during that period. And for a 3-year period, in the county budget went down $1,342,281. And you can see the percentage decreases over on the right side. Based on the proposed budget, we would be still saying we're going to gather about $28,000 in fees. The state budget went up to $21,045,236. Federal went up a little bit to $1,171,796, and the request to the county of $3,614,826. Next. Here's a 3-year comparison of our total operating funds, local revenues, state revenues, federal, and county revenues. Expenditure summary. The major area of increase in the 2011-12 operating budget is salaries and benefits. Right now, we conducted many salary studies, and we found that in the region we are very low. In some areas, we are paying just barely above minimum wage, and in order to attract quality professionals and in order to maintain and keep quality professionals, that was the reason why we've asked for these increases. The teacher salary scale has been frozen since 2008-09. It is recommended that we increase it by $1,800 per step with no step increase. The hourly scale has been frozen for the same period of time, and we want to increase that by 8%, which is drastically needed, as many of those people are living below the poverty line, and the administrator's salary scale has been frozen since 2007-08, and it is recommended that there be an approximate increase by 4%. As you know, there's been a lot of talk about VRS. The VRS salary increases, 7 new positions that are needed because we're growing and we're moving students from the 5th grade. We continue to grow at the lower grade levels, and we're going to be needing to add additional teachers. We need to add textbooks. The textbook replacements, we've been continuing to use the same books. We do buy consumable textbooks, but these are general replacement books, instructional materials, equipment, and supplies to do our classes. And at the request of both the school board and you all, we've been trying to put in a maintenance plan so we can try to maintain the buildings, replace tile, carpet, water fountains, and other things on a cycle, and keep those going instead of coming to you with large expenditures all at one time. And I thank Mr. Gagnon for all the work that he's done. Also, buildings and grounds and vehicle cost, as many of our buses are aging. I added the music for extra excitement. All right. The expenditure categories, as you can see, the first category of the 7, we control 5 of them. Instruction, you can see in 2010-11, instruction has dropped to $25,669,259, or a decrease of $3,148,061. Most of the staff, teacher assistants, many of our secretaries, administrators, some of the central office, much of the central office staff are all paid in this category. And you can see that there's been almost an 11% reduction there. Administration, attendance, and health, is now at $1,107,949, a decrease of $375,330, or about a 25% decrease. That is for school nurses, the school board, myself, social workers, and various clerical staff throughout the division are in there, plus some contracts that we cover. The next area is transportation, and that one has increased a little bit. We are now at $2,744,438, and you know why. Gas prices continue to be a burden, and we've had to modify and work on that. and also trying to keep up and upgrade the buses. There was actually a $68,000 increase there, 2.55%. Operations and maintenance, the largest portion of that, $3,434,039, is for electric, water, sewer, propane, and contracts to try to keep our major HVAC equipment running. Many of them are under service contracts. That one has increased $75,797, or 2.26% increase. Much of that increase being aligned with, as our equipment gets older, the service contracts increase in price and requires us to pay more money. Facilities went up to $149,838. It's a $4,000 increase, or 2.74%. Those are the facilities that we're talking about there, are all those lovely learning cottages outside of Madison Elementary School, Bowling Green Primary, and Bowling Green Elementary School. Those are the yearly contracts on owning those buildings. You can see that the proposed numbers the instruction budget to $27,886,432, predominantly for hiring additional staff to meet the needs of our students and to meet all state and federal mandates. And that is an increase of 8.64%. Administration attendance and health increasing by $25,725, or 2.32%. Transportation is up, again, for salaries and for estimated increases in gas, diesel. Maintenance is increased by $347,006. That has the $202,000 of continuing maintenance in there, and that's a 10.1% increase, and facilities will stay the same. And here's just a chart that shows the projections where we're at. Red was 2 years ago, last year is the green, and purple is actually this operating budget this year. VRS numbers are at, right now, there's been some adjustments, and I'll go over those in a second, but at the time of the governor's budget on December 17, 2010, to cover the VRS requirements, it was $543,173. The salary increases are listed there for teachers at $1,800 each, and with benefits, VRS, FICA, $694,095. Support staff, $425,565, again covering benefits. Administrators at $180,145. Supplements for special degrees and programs to get highly qualified people at $66,103. The new positions are listed there. We are moving an autism program, and it's we are actually being recognized for various things throughout the state right now, but one of them is we do an autism program where we're trying to keep the children here in the county. We will have some children that are finally moving from the elementary level into the middle school level, and so we need to add an instructor there because we still have the numbers of students and the needs at the elementary and the primary level. 2 elementary teachers because of the continued growth that we're going to be facing. We just continue to have larger and larger numbers, and that's where the largest portion of the growth is right now. And also the 2 secondary teachers are at the middle school because the 5th grade class going to the middle school is going to be the largest class that's ever hit the middle school, with well over 300 and some odd students. Actually, the building is at over capacity. The other one is one electronic routing position for transportation, hopefully finding out how we can do our bus routes a lot more efficiently and try to save on gas money and how many buses and everything we need. It'll take about 2 years to get the system fully up and running and functioning so that we can look at possible savings in the future. Textbooks we covered. Those are replacement textbooks. SOL instructional materials are materials that are we need to replace in order to do our testing and prepare our students for the SOL test. instructional supplies and equipment for CTE. We continue to expand our CTE program, and we're doing upgrades, and with that we need to get more stuff, and also Perkins money is very minimal from the federal government. Copy printing services, a lot of our copy machines were old and outdated. We needed to replace them, rework a contract, and that cost us $73,000. The maintenance service contracts, when we went through them, they continued to increase, and we needed to realign that budget item, but also to cover the additional cost was $30,030. And then the building materials were mainly for upgrades and replacement of blinds, water fountains, tile, start doing any further asbestos abatement that we need to do. The list would go on, but George has started putting in a cycle of how long those how often they need to be replaced, so we can get them on a cycle instead of doing them all at one time. Grounds and maintenance, we have been trying to upkeep the grounds a little bit more, take care of things a little more detailed. That would cover the difference. And then transportation vehicle equipment maintenance for supplies is an additional $17,000. With the aging of our buses, we need more equipment, plus we need to replace some and keep it in service so that we can keep our buses on the road. And SUTA is the unemployment tax, and that added up to a total additional needs of $2,754,335. Now, you all know that there's been an update in state allocations based on the General Assembly's amended budget, February 27, 2011. The original request to the county was $2,614,826. But if the General Assembly's allocation comes through, it'll reduce that request by $232,074 if we'll get additional state funding, and there will be $140,000 less approximately in VRS contributions. That's all based on salaries and what step you hire various people at. That brings the total to $2,242,752. and reduces the county overall request to $13,242,752, or a reduction of $372,074. I figured since you were enjoying talking about capital, we would continue to talk about capital. We'll just do a quick hit on this because I had some updated information that I got today, and I thought it would be, you would really like to have insights on some of this, but I'm going to briefly run through this as much as you've seen much of this. The school board approved the CIP on September 13th. It was given to you all on September 28th. Here was the request that you were handed in basic order: the high school HVAC replacement, which I thank you for discussing tonight, and the high school renovations. And we do have tentative pictures and drawings of what that would entail and look like for the $9.5 million, and an additional trying to get all the athletic fields around the middle school and high school and provide tracks and football fields at the middle school that are needed, and also upgrade softball fields and just make sure they have enough practice fields. The renovation of the PK5 school at Bowling Green, $9 million. The renovation of Old Lady Smith current CDLC for $5 million, and there's been further discussion on that. Eventually renovating the school board office or the annex at 1.5, Bowling Green Elementary for CDLC and Governor's School or school board office, and then completion of the Madison front entrance at $1 million, and then upgrades and the parking lots. Also additional classrooms needed for the continued growth at CMS, $6 million, and then eventually a new elementary school. As of March 2nd, 2011, Caroline County Public Schools, or Caroline County, really received $6 million in the qualified school construction bonds for renovations and upgrades of Bowling Green Primary School to be a PK5 school. This leaves $3 million short of the feasibility study's estimated cost of $9 million. This has become a very important project. When we look, and we've talked to a lot of staff, there's a lot of support for a PK5 school because there's just It just seems like they're able to use resources and materials better, and also it's just a lot more support, especially for the younger children. The $6 million awarded through the QSCB grants, or the Qualified School Construction Bond, will be issued through School Authority by mid to late June. I talked to Kent Dickey at DOE, he's Deputy State Superintendent. He said that those should be issued by mid to late June. I talked to him this afternoon. From that point, we have a 6-month window in which we are required to spend 10% of the monies, and based on the projection, we need to spend about $600,000 by the end of December on this project. And I talked to the architect today about this school. If we get out and get it bidded, first we'd have to go out for an RFP for architectural firms. We would have to, the school board would have to select one. Then you'd begin the drawing process and the, gathering all the information, doing the drawings, and then you would put together your RFP or your proposal for bid for contract. Then you would go out for contractor bids, and once you do that, about a month to 2 months later, they'll start on site. So you're talking about a 5 or 6 month window, depending on the architectural firm that's selected and depending on the contractor and their availability to be ready. There still needs to be a little further work. The group that we did the feasibility study has many drawings and a lot of work already completed. That was not part of the feasibility study. They just did that on their own. Next. The high school rooftop HVAC unit replacement. We've been looking at the need for going to natural gas. We've been pricing that out, Mr. Gagnon has, but you're talking about a number of miles up the road and nobody else that will tap in. And we're looking at the cost-benefit analysis. I have talked to the architect that we've been working with on the feasibility study about other possibilities of energy-efficient ways to run this school and to make it, less cost inefficient, because it is a very inefficient school at this point with HVAC because of no windows, and it's an enclosed school. We also need to replace much of the school, and there will be a few additions to expand to allow the high school to grow. It's already over capacity by about 150, 200 students. Buses. The number of buses needed for the 2009-10 school year, which was 2 years ago, based on the work of Mr. Satterwhite, and I thank him for doing that. Cost per bus is $75,000. I believe these are the larger passenger buses, for a total cost of $682,974. And then 2010-11, I think some of these numbers have been upgraded since then, but is $85,850. And then you can see what the needs are in the future. At the beginning of the 2006-07 school year, the county took over the purchase or leasing of all school buses. And lastly, since this presentation's been done, Caroline's children are counting on you and some of the pictures of our kids, and I thank you for allowing me to present this budget to you all, and if you have any questions, I will see if I can answer them.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Gillow, for the presentation. At this point, we're not going to delve deeply into the school budget, but I'm going to ask board members if they have any high-level questions, 30,000-foot view questions of the budget as presented by Dr. Kilo right now. Mr. Underwood?
No, none this time.
Ms. Popwood?
Doctor, we've been talking for a long time about duplicate services that are taken on by the county and the schools. Can we please talk with the school board again about that and see if we can do something with that this year? I'd really like to see that number that's up there of increase come down some.
We have been addressing that, Mr. Popowich, and Mr. Ashcraft, I guess, had requested that the school board and the school system meet, and there had been throughout the year, I guess, monthly meetings. There was quite a number of meetings, and there was some savings that were incurred by cost. You know, the departments did get together and did joint bidding, and then we purchased separately, but we benefited in some ways by some of the contracts. I know Fran was involved, Leafin was involved in all of our departments that we got together, and there was some savings, and you know, some of the stuff we couldn't do any better, but we tried.
Sure. And I understand about the contracts. I'm talking more on the departmental level. I think that's the next step we need to look at. And if, I know that Mr. Ashcraft won't be here, but certainly Mr. Parton, I'm sure, is capable of handling those discussions. If we could please try to do that, so I'd like to see that number come down.
Dr. Kelo, I was just hopeful that, and I'm talking about the Bowling Green PK5 school that we've gotten the $6 million from the state on. How much of the design is truly already done by the architect that you currently have employed to do the evaluation, I guess is my first question.
Well, truthfully, they've done a tremendous amount of the work, but you know, they weren't under RFP to do that. When we bid them out for the feasibility study, they've just taken it upon themselves to do it because they were trying to enhance and move forward the ability for us to get this money and to make this request. Because you have to have a pretty much a shovel-ready project to be able to move forward, and that's why we're going to be we need to be expedited in trying to attack this. You know, if we're going to ever go out for a literary loan, you're going to be required to, you know, and there's no literary money. I did talk to Kent Dickey today. He said there won't be any until at least after 2012. In the 2-year proposed budget right now, there is none. And after that, who knows, but in order to do that, you have to RFP your architects, and then after that, you have to do the rest of it. We would have to go out to bid for architects.
So we can't shave any time off by the work they've already done?
Well, if they win the bid, it would shave time, but you know, you still have to look at the cost. But
and we couldn't shave any cost with the work that's already done either?
yes, you could. Yes, the feasibility study is owned by the school system, and we'd be able to share it. But some of the detailed drawings outside of the feasibility study belong to the architectural firm, OWPR.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Killo, I wanted to make sure that I understand under transportation the numbers as well as under the building and grounds or maintenance of building service. If I'm reading this correctly, you need roughly $209,000 or roughly $209,000 out of the $2.7 million you're requesting. You've loaded 2.2, I believe now, 2.5, something like that, is for salary increases for the bus drivers. Is that correct?
No, the bus driver salary increases is under the support staff line under number 2 in additions.
What's under administration?
Oh, which page are you talking about? I'm sorry, I must be off on the...
No, on transportation. I'm speaking about bus drivers.
Okay, you're talking about the transportation line on the expenditure summary page.
1170, that's correct.
Okay.
It says that for the bus drivers, the increase is $189,000, and I'm assuming that's the salary increase.
Yes.
Okay, and then another $20,000 for other drivers' salaries. I'm assuming they're still bus drivers.
They got cars that drive around.
Where you,
I'm on page 47 of what you handed.
You're talking about our budget, okay.
Dr. Gillo, the finance director's coming behind you, I think, with the
Right, but I have it. It is, the increase for bus driver salaries is $189,646.
Right.
And yes, for drivers, it's $20,117. That's correct.
So $209,000 of that amount that you're requesting is for bus driver salary increases.
Correct.
Okay. And then we move over to the operation and maintenance budget. Facilities.
Okay.
What kind of increase are you, what's the dollar amount that you're looking for there?
Under facilities,
Yeah,
there's.
maintenance workers and.
Under maintenance workers, you have your maintenance salaries, an increase of $27,018. Custodial workers, $25,000. Part-time wages for many of our employees, $3,401. Custodial workers, part-time, $26,135. Then you have to include, and when you asked before about the transportation, you have to include FICA, VRS, health, well, health is already in there, and workers' comp increases on top of those numbers.
So 200,000, the number's probably 140 and 70. It's usually like 30%, 33% is for benefits, something in that nature. It's a ballpark number.
Yeah, that's a little high, but yeah.
So if the number is 200,000, we could assume it's like 140,000 for salary and maybe 60 or 70 for benefits, something like that. Just trying to ballpark.
Yeah, ballpark.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. Dr. Kilo, I'm not gonna ask any questions at this time. It's just one thing. When I don't know if you were actually here when we got the financial planning presentation from our consultants, that basically our cap was if we could borrow any more, the maximum would be 53 million. Kind of coincidental how your CIP was 53 million, but that was just for schools. So our 53 million was schools and county, and we're going to have a lot of discussion on that to figure out what we do now and kind of what we do later on, and that's really the plan. One thing, and we don't have any information about it, but you got 6 million of the 9 million, so we have to jointly figure out how we close that gap, if we close that gap, and what do we do, because it appears that's the project of all the things we talked about so far. It seems like we're at least committed to so far. So there will be some more discussion, and I appreciate your time in presenting the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving to the next agenda item number 3, which is appointments. We have, I'll just go down the order. I spoke to Mr. Underwood, and I asked him previously if he'd be willing to fill all the appointments that we had appointed Mr. Rozelle to from a board perspective, and that'll come a little later. So if there's anything you have that's an issue, we'll take care of that. Mr. Okay. Mr. Rozelle, I take it, is gone? Okay. The RAAA appointment we have, Mr. Wick has resigned, and we were going to ask Mr. Rozelle if he would continue in that, and I guess if that's the board desire, I need a motion to that effect? All right, let me collect them all. Let me collect them all first, and I'll do motions for all of them. Recreational Advisory for Port Royal, Mr. Popowitz. Okay. We just found out that the person there no longer resides in the county, so that's one you have to fill. Redistricting Committee, Reedy Church. You have one? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend that we appoint Ms. Demetrius Oliver from the Reedy Church District for the redistricting committee, advisory committee.
Okay, if you don't mind, Mr. Underwood, I'm gonna just take all these, and then we'll do one motion with all those.
Then I withdraw my motion.
Well, we'll take your recommendation. We have, and then the last thing we have are the appointments that Mr. Rozelle had, which is the board member to RAAA and the service to board liaison for utilities and public works. seems like there was a lot more we had asked Mr. Roselle to do, but that's it. So at that point, we will ask for a motion to appoint Maxie Roselle as a citizen representative to the Rappahannock Area on Aging, Demetrius Tolliver for the Reedy Church Redistricting Advisory Committee,